Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Catherine Moscosa, and today we are going to discuss about the social dimensions in education. The social dimension refers to how individuals interact within a society, influencing their growth, development, and progress. It encompasses various aspects of life, including political, religious, economic, educational, and cultural factors. People learn from their surroundings. We learn from our surroundings. And we adapt to different roles and become active participants in a structured social system. So today we are going to talk about step by step the social dimension of education. So social organization and interactions. Humans are social beings who thrive in groups rather than in isolation. Society is structured through social organization, which consists of repeated patterns of behavior that create predictability. Within this structure, individuals hold status or positions in society and perform roles or expected behavior based on our status. Just like, for example, a teacher a teacher that is a status is expected to educate students, and that is her role as a teacher. And the parent is expected to care for their children, and that is the role of the parents. Now let's proceed to the social hierarchy and group dynamics. So every society has a hierarchy where people are categorized into different classes: the lower, the middle, or the upper. So, based on the factors like wealth, education, or occupation, society is made up of many groups, which can be primary groups, just like the family and close friends, and this involve deep personal interactions. Next is the secondary groups, which is the workplace, the school, or the organization. This is based on formal, temporary, and goal oriented interactions. Now, people interact within these groups through cooperations, competitions, and conflict, shaping our social processes. Now, let's proceed to the key social institutions society functions through institutions. So, through institutions that helps individuals meet their needs, just like number one, the family. So, family provides emotional support, care, and social upbringing. Two, economy. Economy ensures access to food, shelter, and education. 3. Government. It maintains peace and order. And 4 is education. It passes down knowledge and skills to our future generations. 5. Religion. It provides guidance and explains the unknown or explains the belief, the values of individuals. So, for example, a school or education not only teaches academic subject but also social norms and values that help students integrate into society. So school does not only teach academic. Cultural influence on society. So what is culture? Culture is a way of life that includes values, beliefs, and customs passed down through generations. It is learned through socializations where individuals adapt to societal norms. Cultures differ across societies, but all fulfill universal human needs. However, societies sometimes judge others based on their own cultural standards, and a mindset of that is called ethnocentrism. Again, ethnocentrism. So to counter this, cultural relativism encourage understanding different cultures within their own context. So, for example, in some cultures, greeting with handshake is normal, while in others, bowing is preferred. So different societies have unique food customs like eating with utensils versus hands. So now let's proceed to the theories of society. The consensus theories or the agreement in society. So these theories believe that society works because people share common values, beliefs, and norms. Social order is maintained through unwritten agreement or tacit agreements. So change happens slowly and in an organized way because society prepares stability and cooperations. For example, schools, families, and governments work together to maintain social order. While the second theory is the conflict theories or the power struggles in society. So these theories argue that society is built on inequality, where some groups dominate others, and social order is not natural but is created through control and manipulation by powerful groups. Change happens quickly and often through conflict, as weaker groups fight for equality. For example, struggles between the rich and the poor, or between different race and gender. So the third is the structural functionalism or agile model. So this theory is by Talcott Parsons. So Talcott Parsons sees society as a system made up of different parts or institutions that work together. The Agile model describes four important functions that keep our society stable. Number one of that is the A, adaptation. Adaptation. So, adaptation, society must adjust to its environment. For example, the economy and providing jobs. Second is the goal attainment. Goal attainment is the society must set and achieve goals. For example, government or making laws. And three is integration. Different parts of society must cooperate. Examples, schools, families, and laws. Next is latency. Latency is society must keep cultural values and motivation strong. For example, religion and tradition. So another example, a family teaches children values, schools provide education, and the economy provide jobs. So everything works together to maintain order. Next is general action system. So Talcott Parsons explained that every society works like a system with different parts that help it function. So he divided this system into four parts. Number one is the cultural system or latency function. So this includes the values, beliefs, and traditions that guide people's actions. For example, respect for elders is a cultural value that influences behavior. Next is social system or integration function. So this keeps society organized by ensuring that all of its parts work well together. For example, the schools, the families, and the government work together to maintain order. Next is the action system or adaptation function. So this is about how society adjusts to changes and interacts within the environment. For example, a country adapting to new technology or climate change. Next is personality system or goal attainment function. So this focuses on setting and achieving goals in society. For example, a government planning economic growth or a school setting learning goals. Now let's proceed to the other. So functional requisites of a social system. So for society to survive, it needs to meet certain conditions. Number one, compatibility with other systems. So compatibility with other systems is a social system should work well with other systems. For example, families should work well with economy and education. Number two is dependency of other systems. So it needs support from other systems to survive. Number three is fulfilling needs. So it must meet the basic need of its people. Four is participation. So people should actively take part in society. Five is control over disruptive behavior. So there must be rules to prevent chaos. Number six, managing conflict. So if serious problems arise, they should be handled properly. Seven is language. So communication is essential for any society to function. So why is this important? These ideas explain how societies function smoothly by maintaining order, adapting to change, and ensuring that people's needs are met. So it helps us understand why rules, traditions, and social structures are important for a stable society. So next one is the interaction theory. So this theory looks at how schools and society are connected. It builds on and also critiques or questions other ideas such as functionalism, functionalism which sees society as working together, and conflict theory, which focuses on struggles between different groups. And it focuses on how people interact with each other in school settings, like students with students and students with teachers. Now let's proceed to the symbolic interactionism. So this theory studies how people give meaning to things, events, and behaviors in society. So this theory was developed by sociologists like George Herbert Mead and Charles Horton Cooley. So it says that our surroundings of ourselves is shaped by our social environment and interaction with others. Next is let's proceed to education and interactionism. So this theory helps us see education from a broader perspective. So it challenges common belief and encourage us to rethink everyday classroom interactions, like how students interact with teachers and with each other or with their classmates. Four, principles of symbolic interactionism. So people can think and reflect. Our thinking is influenced by social interactions. We learn meanings and symbols through interactions, which help us understand the world. These meanings and symbols guide our actions and interactions with others. So, in short, interactionist theorists focus on how people communicate and give meaning to things through social interactions. Now, let's understand how people act and interact. So people can change the meaning of words and symbols based on how they understand a situation. People can do this because they can think about their actions, weigh the good and bad, and make decisions. According to Mead, people act towards the things they encounter on the basis of what those what those things mean to them. For example, the context, the objects, people, activities, and situations. Now, we learn things by observing how other people respond to them, and that is through social interactions. Words, gestures, facial expressions, and body postures. We use this in dealing others that acquire symbolic meanings shared by people who belongs in the same culture. And according to Bloomer, objects are seen simply out there in the real world, and its significance is the way that they are defined by actors. Different objects have different meanings for individuals, and he classified these objects into three types. The first one is the physical objects, which is the chair, the tree, the house. Next is the social objects, or the student, the mother, the teacher, the people in the society. Next is the abstract objects, or the ideas, the moral, principles. Now, the interaction determines meaning of the basis of a cognitive interpretation and a practical handling of an object on the basis of that interpretation. So he asserts that symbols play an important role in this meaning giving process. So, according to Cooley, symbolic interaction is the looking glass self, or so called self mirroring. So, we see ourselves as others see us. We develop a self image on the basis of the message we get from others as we understand them. And according to Stone 1962, symbolic interactionism is the concept of self identity. So, what is self identity? Self identity is knowledge that the self exists. Self identity permits communication and other interaction with the self, which in turn produce our self. So self-definition. What is self-definition? Self-definition is a simultaneous recognition of self and of a beyond self reality. Now next is the social stratification and change in the society. So society is structured based on class, status, and power, leading to social inequality. So power can be gained through number one is legitimacy, or elected officials, coercion or dictatorship, expertise or doctors or scientists. So in short, the social dimension shapes human life by providing a structure for interaction, guiding cultural practices, and influencing personal and group identities. So as society evolves, individuals continuously adapt to maintain balance, build relationships, and contribute to the collective progress of humanity. Now, next, let's proceed or let's discuss the social cultural functions or how society shapes behavior. So, society creates rules and routines to help people behave in a proper way. People learn right and wrong from laws and values, helping them grow and improve. People celebrate important events and achievements to honor and recognize good things in society. Next is the social political functions or how society is governed. So society has laws and leaders to keep order, solve problems, and provide services. There are rules to keep people safe, ensure fairness, and help the community grow. Next is the socio-economic functions or how society manage money and resources. So, society helps people be independent by supporting jobs and businesses. The government helps farms and factories grow to strengthen the economy. The government stops unfair business practices. And there is a balance between people's needs and business. Social processes. So these are ways in which people interact within society. The three basic social processes are cooperation. So when we say cooperation, this is working together to achieve common goals. For example, a group of students working on a project. Two is competition. So striving competition. What is competition? Competition is to strive hard to achieve something better than others. For example, students competing for the highest grades, students competing to raise questions in class. Now, conflict. Conflict is a disagreements or struggles due to difference in views or goals. For example, two political groups arguing over policies. So these processes can lead to accommodation. Number one. So accommodation, this is the adjusting to difference, like roommates making com- compromise. Now assimilation, this is when one culture blends into another. For example, immigrants adopting local customs. Coercion is the forcing someone to do something, like strict laws that must be followed. Now, why is the social dimensions important? Now, understanding how people interact help us build better relationships, work effectively in groups, and create a more harmonious society. So humans are naturally social, meaning they need connections with others to survive and thrive. Now, let's understand the social institutions and human needs in simple terms. So, every society organizes itself to function properly. People live within social structures, which are systems of rules, behaviors, and traditions that guide how they interact with others. So, these structures shape people's lives from how they dress to how they communicate. So, one of the most important aspects of society is culture. So, culture, this is which includes traditions, values, knowledge, and belief passed from generation to generation. Culture is learned through socialization, so which is the process of growing up and adopting the behaviors of those around us. Now let's discuss the five fundamental human needs and social institutions. So human beings have basic needs that must be met for them to survive and live well. So to meet these needs, different social institutions were created. Institutions are long-lasting structures in society that guide human behavior. So here are the five fundamental needs and the institutions that fulfill them. Number one is the need for family. This is the biological, psychological, and sociological. So humans are naturally social creatures who seek companionship, love, and belonging. So the family is the institution that provides emotional support, care, and guidance. So families also take care of newborns, ensuring that they are protected and nurtured. Now, example, a child grows up in a home where parents teach them how to talk, how to walk, and behave. Now, parents provide emotional support and security, ensuring that the child feels loved and cared for. 2. The need for basic necessities or the economic institution. So people need food, shelter, clothing, and education to survive. The economic system ensures that resources are distributed
and that people can work to support themselves. Families play a role in the economy by working, earning money, and purchasing goods and services. So, for example, a father works hard as a fisherman, and the father sells his catch in the market and uses the money buy the food and pay for his child's school fees. The need for order and protection, or the government or politics. So societies need rules to prevent chaos. The government creates laws, enforce order, and protects citizens from harm. So without the government, there will be no system to settle conflicts or enforce justice. So for example, traffic lights and road signs help maintain order on the streets, so preventing accidents, and police officers enforce these rules to ensure safety. Four is the need for knowledge and skills. So this is for education. So education is essential for people to learn how to read, write, and develop skills needed for their futures. Schools and universities help train individuals to become productive members of society. So, for example, a young girl attends school and learns math and science, and later becomes an engineer who builds roads and bridges for the community. Five is the need for spiritual and moral guidance. So many people seek answers to life mysteries such as why we exist and what happens after that. So religion provides meaning, values, and moral guidance. Religious institutions also help people cope with fear, uncertainty, and hardships. For example, a family prays together every night, seeking guidance and strength. So their religious belief helps them maintain hopeful during difficult times. Now, how institutions shape our behavior. So society influences how people behave even in small ways. So from the way we dress to the way we speak, many of our actions are shaped by social expectations. For example, in some cultures, people greet each other by shaking hands, while in others, they bow or hug. So, as next, another example is students wear a uniform because it is expected in their school, and a worker follows company rules and respects their boss because that's the norm in the workplace. So these behaviors show how institutionalization works and people act not just because they want to, but because society has established certain ways to doing things. So in conclusion, social institutions like family, government, economy, education, and religion help people meet their basic needs and guide their behavior. So these institutions shape society and ensure stability. So while each culture has its own traditions, all societies share common needs and structures, and that allows people to interact, grow, and progress together. So why do societies differ? So every society is unique because of its culture, history, and social structures. Several theories explain these differences, and but one of the biggest reasons is the ethnocentrism. So when we say ethnocentrism, this is the tendency to judge other culture based on one's own. For example, if someone from the Western countries criticizes an Asian country's use of chopsticks instead of forks, they are being ethnocentric. So when ethnocentrism exists in families, schools, governments, and religions, shaping the way people see the world. However, cultures do not stay the same forever. They change through diffusion. So diffusion is a process where cultures influence each other. For example, pizza originated in Italy, but it is now popular worldwide. So with countries adding their own flavors or subcultures versus countercultures or even within one society. Different groups may have unique traditions, values, and language. So subcultures share similar values with the dominant culture but have their own customs. So stakeholders have their own slang, clothing style, and music preference, but they still not follow societal rules. Now let's discuss the cultural change and globalization. So cultural change over time. Some changes are slow while others happen quickly due to globalization. So the internet, travel and technology have made the world more connected, leading to a borderless society where people exchange ideas, products and traditions more easily. For example, in South Korea, K-pop has become famous worldwide and influencing music and fashion far beyond Korea. So what is social stratifications? Social stratification is why are some people more powerful than others. So all societies have stratification, meaning people are ranked based on their class, status, and power. So the class is groups based on the wealth and privilege, wh- while the status this is how much respect or prestige someone has in society. Ascribed status. So ascribed status is the given at birth to being born into a royal family. 3. Power. So the ability to influence or control others. So there are different types of the legitimate power, which is a president or a judge, has the authority given by law. The cursed power or the dictator controls people through threats or force reward. Now let's discuss the conflict and inequality. So conflict naturally occur in society, especially when some people feel discriminated against due to race, religion, or economic status. So the dominant group often holds power, while minority groups may face prejudice and unfair treatment. So, in conclusion, societies differ because of their unique histories, cultures, and social structures. While difference can lead to misunderstanding and conflicts, they also create diversity and progress. So, the key is to understand and respect different cultures while recognizing the inequalities that exist and working toward a fair society. Now, let's proceed to how technology is changing society and culture. So, we live in a time of rapid technological change. Now, innovation in communication, media, and the internet have transformed how people interact, work, and learn. So, this intellectual superhighway is a term used to describe the spread of information and ideas that has led to major social cultural shift around the world. However, not all cultures are and individuals adapt to change in the same way. Some people embrace technology while others resist it, fearing it may disrupt traditions, beliefs, or ways of life.